Hi, I'm Charlotte from the IFT, and we've teamed up with Balik Arts to help you through the entire journey of making a film. In each of these videos, we'll cover a different aspect of filmmaking and give you some top tips to help you get your projects off the ground. If you're on the Balik Arts course, then I'll be meeting with you one-to-one to give you some mentoring to help you get your project started. So today we're going to cover perhaps the most important aspect of filmmaking, which is telling a really compelling story. And in order to do that, you need some structure. So we're going to go over perhaps one of the most commonly used structures, which is the 3-act structure. But we're also going to use a really useful tool, which is our narrative arc. And in filmmaking, there are some specific features in the narrative arc that we need to think about. So we start at the beginning. And here we need to get to know where we are, who our protagonist is, and what life is like as they know it. Then quite quickly is the inciting incident. So this is something that happens in your story that starts the protagonist's journey. This sets them out on the path that we're going to follow them down. So you might want to think, what is the worst thing that could happen to your protagonist in your story? That is probably going to be near to your inciting incident. At this point, it's quite good to think about what human beings actually value, because your inciting incident, whilst it's going to be very specific to your protagonist, it needs to speak to an audience. So other people need to be able to relate to it through their own feelings of what they value in life. So let's look at what human beings actually value. So first of all, we have our basic needs, and our basic needs are food, water, warmth, shelter, safety, security. These are things that help us survive. Without these, we won't survive. So we're going to fight pretty hard for those. Next up is our emotional needs. So those are love, friendship, relationships, compassion, anything that gives us a sense of connection. Those are really, really important to every human being. The next up is our esteem needs. So these are things like freedom, respect, your place in the world, your place in society. These are more sort of socially influenced needs, but they're really important as well. And so you'll find a lot of inciting incidents will threaten those kind of needs, and that helps us as an audience to relate. And then the last one is our self-actualization. This is very specific to your protagonist, and it'll be different for each individual, but we all have it. It's the way in which we become the best version of ourselves. And whilst it'll be very specific to your protagonist, every human being will relate, because we all have that feeling that we want to be the best version of ourselves, and we'll understand that and appreciate it. So, back to our narrative arc. So after our inciting incident, there's normally some self-doubt or some challenges that come up. Remember, we're still early on in the story, and the audience is still just getting to know your protagonist. So at this point, we might also need something else in addition to your inciting incident that really gets the audience on board and gets them to really want to share this protagonist's story. And that is sometimes referred to as a save the cat moment. And that is a moment where the protagonist proves to the audience that they are worth rooting for. So it might be something that they do that shows the audience, yes, I am worth it, follow me on this story, not just because it's going to be exciting, because you really want me to win out. After that point, the climax of Act 1. So here, something happens that means there's no turning back now for our protagonist. They have to move forwards. So after that point, we have challenge after challenge. Then we get to this midpoint, which is quite interesting. This is where we normally have a bit of a shift of consciousness. So some new information enters the story that gives us a different perspective. We start to see it from a different angle, and we start to understand that actually there's more to this story. This might be also a change of direction for our character. It might be that they are somehow betrayed, or it might be that some of the other characters start to become more significant as well at this point. In any case, there's some kind of twist which gives us a bit of a different direction and a different understanding of the significance of the story. After that point, you guessed it, more challenges. There might be a big crisis at this point. This is all leading up to the eventual climax of the story. So if your story is involving, let's say, a big battle scene, this is when it's going to happen. If your story is involving a protagonist that is trying to become a ballet dancer, this will be the big audition. So this is the moment, the most important moment in your story. It's the make or break moment we've been leading up to this whole time. After the climax, we're going to start to conclude. So we start to review, we start to assess how things have changed, but we also start to look to the future and start to imagine what life is going to be like now and how this individual has maybe grown or developed as a result of this story. And this is quite important because we start as an audience as well to relate to that feeling of growth. It gives us a kind of cathartic feeling that we've gone through this experience with them. And then, of course, the end. Now we've got a fantastic, compelling story. We need to write it down. So the first thing to do is just write it down as a short story. Don't worry about scripting it, don't worry about dialogue, don't worry about images. Just write down the story, write down the essence of what's really important to this story. And that's going to be really important because that short story is going to form the basis of your long synopsis. From there, we might want to whittle that down to a short synopsis. That's going to be about 200 words. Again, this is going to be very important later. And from there, we can start to draw out our log line. And that is just maximum 2 sentences, drawing out the essence of the story. Once you've got these 3 things, hold on to them. They're going to be extremely important. They're going to form the basis of your story and your script, which we'll go over in the next session. So that's the end of the first session. I hope you enjoyed it. The next session, I'm going to talk about scripting and storyboarding. If you want to get ahead and go straight to that session, you can do that over here. If you want to subscribe to this channel, you can do that down here, and that will keep you up to date on everything that's going on the course. If you're having a mentoring session, I really look forward to meeting you and to hearing your stories. Until next time, see you.